From Washington, here is the news in VOA Special English. Egyptian riot police fired tear gas outside the presidential home Tuesday as large crowds of opponents of Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi protested. Protest leaders called the demonstrations a final warning to Mr Morsi to withdraw presidential support for a mostly Islamist version of the Constitution. A committee approved the version last week. The committee was boycotted by secular, leftist, and Christian members. A vote on the proposed Constitution is expected on December 15th. NATO has agreed to deploy Patriot missiles to the Turkish border to help defend Turkey against threats from Syria. NATO foreign ministers said in a statement Tuesday that NATO would supply air defense in order to defend the population and territory of Turkey. Turkey first asked for help after Syrian army shells landed near rebel areas on the Turkish side of the border in October. NATO's top official says the international community would react strongly if the Syrian government used chemical weapons. NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen said Tuesday that Syria's possible use of chemical weapons would be completely unacceptable. Syria's foreign ministry repeated that it would not use chemical weapons, if it had them, against its own people. A powerful wind and rainstorm is hitting the southern Philippines, killing at least 70 people. It is one of the biggest storms to hit the area this year. The typhoon has winds of around 200 kilometers per hour. It is knocking down trees, blowing off roofs, and sending thousands of people fleeing to government shelters. The storm struck land early Tuesday off the southern island of Mindanao. Weather experts say they expect the storm to weaken by Thursday. More than 100 Nobel Prize winners are urging China's next president, Xi Jinping, to free Chinese dissident and Nobel Peace Prize winner Liu Xiaobo. 134 Nobel winners from around the world sent a letter to Mr. Xi Tuesday. They asked him to immediately and unconditionally release Liu Xiaobo. He is serving an 11-year prison sentence for inciting anti-government activities. The Nobel Prize winners also want Liu Xiaobo's wife, Liu Xia, freed from house arrest. She was placed under house arrest after her husband won the Nobel Prize in 2010. Officials in Bangladesh have detained protesters who clashed with police and burned vehicles as the nation's largest Islamist party called for a strike. Police in the capital, Dhaka, arrested several people on Tuesday. Many schools and businesses were closed. The party Jamaat-e-Islami is demanding an end to the trials of its top leaders on war crimes. The charges come from the country's 1971 war for independence from Pakistan. Officials say the Islamist leaders cooperated with the Pakistani army in committing rape and murder during the 9-month war. Jamaat-e-Ismaili denies the charges. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. The government in the Democratic Republic of Congo has announced plans to open talks with the rebel group M23. The country's interior minister said the talks would begin within the next few days in Kampala, Uganda. M23 seized control of the eastern city of Goma last month. The rebels withdrew from Goma late last week, but they threatened to recapture the city if the government fails to honor a promise to hold negotiations. The government of Mali is holding its first direct talks with two rebel groups that seized control in the north of the country. Top government officials gathered Tuesday for talks with delegates from the MNLA Tuareg separatist group and the Islamist group Ansar Dine. Soldiers overthrew the government of Mali in March. MNLA and Ansar Dine rebels took control of the north soon after. Later, Ansar Dine and allied Islamist groups seized full control of the territory from the MNLA. President Barack Obama says a Republican Party plan to avoid a financial crisis on January 1st is still out of balance because it does not raise tax rates on the wealthiest families. The president told a Bloomberg television interviewer Tuesday that the plan proposed by the Republican leader of the House of Representatives would not raise enough money. It's a matter of math, the president said. Negotiations to end a strike at the biggest port center in the United States continue as the strike enters its second week. Union office workers at the Los Angeles and Long Beach ports in California stopped working last Tuesday. They say that shippers who operate from the ports want to send jobs overseas. The group that represents the shippers and terminal operators says they only want the right to hire the people they need. About 40% of all goods shipped to the United States come through the port. Most of the goods come from Asian nations. A smaller amount comes from Central and South America. Thousands of Serbian students gathered in Belgrade Tuesday to protest a ruling by the International Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. The tribunal last week cleared former Prime Minister Ramush Haradinaj, a wartime rebel leader, and two commanders of war crimes against Serb civilians. Students called on Serb lawmakers to condemn the United Nations Court's ruling. They demanded that the court try war criminals from countries other than Serbia.